welcome back. Let me double check my mic's working. Yep. Alright, welcome back. I've been gone for a few days because my old welder was giving me major issues. So I got this TIG welder up and running. I got the gas here for it. It's just a different type of welder that'll give me a much cleaner weld, much better weld. I can do a lot more with this than I could with the wire feed. I haven't torch welded where you use either like an oxyacetylene torch or in this case a TIG torch. It's a different type of welding than that. You create a puddle and then you add by hand your own metal, so it's a little more intricate. It's a skill that I haven't done since high school, so quite a while. But I remember the basics. I practiced a little bit and kind of relearned. It's not pretty, but I got the basics down. I remember how to do it now. With this metal, because it is thinner, it does tend to flex and warp a bit, so I just got to do much smaller welds. But this allows me to do that way cleaner, way faster than having to weld with this, and then clean it off, then weld, and clean it off, then weld, and clean it off. Because it uses gas, it's way cleaner. So I can just come down here, weld a little spot, pick up, weld another spot, come back to the beginning, another, and then just keep doing that over and over without ever lifting my hood. Because it's so clean that it won't make everything dirty and nasty. So, alright, that was the big thing. I had to go get this equipment fixed to get it all set up. The other piece of equipment that I was working on was this oxyacetylene torch. Getting this up and running. The problem is my regulator's bad. So, this regulator I'm going to have to send off to get rebuilt. So, that's going to take a little more time. So some projects that I was planning on using this torch for are going to take a little while to finish. Just put this stuff out of the way. But the good news is the Mandalorian chess piece is not one of those projects that was waiting for this torch, at least not yet. Who knows, I may need it in the future, but not what I have planned right now. So, what we are going to do today is use this new TIG setup to start putting the welds on the inside here of the front of the Mandalorian chest piece. So fit on here, and then the back plate, which just mirrors it. So I am going to come in, put a pretty big weld here. I'm going to put a rod actually down here and then blend that rod into this so it builds up a thick piece of metal there, and then come over here on the outside and weld this together so it's pretty on the outside, kind of a big weld on the inside, but that'll give it strength to that joint. It could probably be done much smaller, much more delicately with somebody who has a lot of skill with one of these machines. I'm not that guy. Not yet, anyway. So, that is what we have planned for today. I am going to have to clean this up real quick just because it's got leftover stuff on it. You can see. Put the camera in a slightly different spot, so I got to learn where to stand. But this powder stuff here, you can see me kind of wiping it away. That's the flux. That's the stuff that you'll see on a welding rod, that powder that's on the outside of a welding rod. Or in the case with my old welder, was the, inside the wire itself. It had the flux core. It had that flux on the inside. And when that burns off, it just leaves some gunk on there. And TIG welding, which is what I'm doing now, the new one, should be done on cleaner metal. Much cleaner than, like, you know, rusty horseshoes or something like that. With those, I can use that wire feed and just blast it on there because it's already dirty, so it doesn't matter. With this, it needs to be much cleaner. So I'm going to have to clean that off before I get started. And the other thing that I actually want to set up first is I bought, let's see, to use TIG, the way that it creates its arc, like kind of like a torch to melt the metal, is it has in the handle, here, this is the torch. It's just a little handle. Inside here is a tungsten rod, and it just sits inside there. And that's where the electricity comes through. It creates an arc out there, and then that's what melts your metal, creates a puddle. Then you add more metal into, you know, you just have a bare rod like this. So as you're welding, you then melt this into wherever you're welding. And then keep going along, and then readjust, then keep melting, readjust, keep melting. So you have the two together to melt. Well, to create that arc, you have this, which is a tungsten rod, and but you can see here it's just flat. Well, you might be able to see it's just flat. They're supposed to be sharpened. I don't know the exact angle, but they're supposed to come to a point, kind of like a pencil, and that allows you to really concentrate your arc down there, so it doesn't kind of go all over the place or get messed up. This one that I've been sharpening, I've just been doing what you're absolutely not supposed to do, and just running my grinder flat on the table and then holding it out here trying to sharpen it, which is not a good practice. Don't do that. It's not how the grinder's meant to be used. It's dangerous. Don't do that. But what I did find was on Amazon, they do sell a little attachment for my Dremel tool, which will sharpen it. So this is also me unboxing this for the first time. So it's one of those videos. So this is supposed to attach to my Dremel tool. So it attaches inside there. And then there's holes along the outside here for the different sizes of tungsten. So they're not all that size. And at the right angle. So when the Dremel tool's in there, it has some bits, some blades in there too that run around kind of like a grinding wheel. You take this, your tungsten, whatever the right size is. Let's see. Is it this one? It looks pretty good. Well, you take your tungsten and you put it through these holes and then rotate it, and it keeps your angle good, it keeps it where it's supposed to be, everything's protected inside there, and so it helps you sharpen it and get it just perfect, which consistency is key, so that helps make sure the point's just perfect. I'll probably have to use that today because one of the big no-nos is taking this tungsten tip when it's sharpened like that, and if metal blows up on it or you're new and dip it into the metal, it screws the whole thing up. You got to take it out. You got to stop welding. You got to take it out, clean that off, grind it down new again, and then keep welding. And when I was practicing, it happened a lot. So when that happens today, I'm going to have to bust this thing out, figure out how to use it, and sharpen up some more tungsten. If that doesn't happen today, oh, it's perfect. It's amazing. I'll figure it out later. But more than likely it's going to. All right, so first things first, we're going to clean this off. Might be able to just do that with a wire brush. Check chat real quick. Oh yeah, welcome back guys. And yes, it is a pretty futuristic, pretty awesome welder, even though it's actually kind of an old welder. Futuristic for me. Very advanced for me. Oh, also as a warning, I don't think I have ever in my life learned a new skill and haven't cussed profusely. So, just a heads up. I will do my best, but never know. Clamp this down, make sure the project doesn't move around on us, and that we get a good connection. Okay. So we'll open up our argon gas here, which helps. It blows out the tip. That's why there are two hoses. One goes to gas, and the other one is your electricity that comes from the machine there. So, we'll turn our gas on. Make sure it's working. Alright, yeah, we're good there. Our flow rate's good. We're going to attempt to do it on this setting on the welder. Oh, also my favorite thing about this welder, that's it. That's the whole thing. Just this little box. It's tiny. If I had the bigger leads and like an extension cord in that, you could just sling it and just have it sitting in the small of your back out there welding and have your big tank of gas, you know, just nearby or something like that. It'd be great for if you had a little generator building fences or something, and you use much smaller gloves or much lighter weight gloves. So, all right. Our green light's on our machine. Temperature's right, gas is flowing. All right, I will stop stalling and start welding. Oh. And I'm going to use some of this big fat rod. When I actually weld on the outside or some of these finer welds on this stuff, I'll be using this much thinner rod. It's coated in copper to keep it from rusting. So just to protect it. But this did too, but I had to use a Scotch-Brite pad on it because it was old rod, so now it's a little cleaner. But you can see the size difference. This rod I'm just going to be melting to the back just to help give me more meat to deal with when I'm doing the front. If I need to add on the front, I'll be using this much smaller rod to get much tinier welds. So, for now, big fat rod. Then, this is nice too because I get to sit down and do this. Not standing up, hunched over, and knees in the ground. Much nicer. All right. Just bear with me. Like I said, I am brand new at this. High school was the last time I torch welded. And it wasn't with a TIG. It was with an oxyacetylene torch because they made us. Same principle though. Just one uses fire and one uses electricity. This one uses electricity. Oh yeah, this is also much quieter too. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys hear. So I hear kind of a hum and a slight like electric buzzing, like a sound, but not near as loud as like a normal, like a stick feed or not a stick feed, like a stick welder or a torch. All right. Well, got a little piece on there. It's pretty ugly, but the nice thing about this is you can keep going over it to get your metal melted together. What I'm gonna have to do. But look at this, don't have to clean up, just pick it right back up, keep going. almost have our initial pass done. Okay, so now I have some of the metal on there. Now I'm going to be blending that metal into our gap a little bit better. Yeah, tip doesn't look too bad. Alright. Alright. It's working. It's just a little slow going. I think I do need to add just a hair more in one spot though. coming along bit by bit. It's a little slower for just because what I'm doing, but it's looking pretty good. So remember when I said this would allow me to do much better welds? I wasn't lying. However, not sure I'm capable of much better welds. At least not yet. Yeah, tungsten's pretty nasty looking. Okay, I'll have to clean that tungsten off. But I have this clamped down, otherwise I'd pick it up. But so what I did was I've put a big, I don't even want to call it a bead. It's normally what you do in welding is you lay down a bead. I put a big blob of metal down in the gap there. And now I'm taking that big blob that I have just barely attached, and now I'm blending it or melting it into this top piece back and forth and into this bottom piece back and forth. So I'm taking that big slug of metal in the middle, heating it up to liquid hot, and then bringing my puddle down to the bottom metal so then it expands into there, like when you drop water into a cup of water, how it hits and then dissipates out. It's the same thing with this. When you have your flat piece of metal and then your big weld here, and you heat both up to liquid, they just form into each other. Now it's welded. So that's what I was doing along the top. I got most of the way on the top. Now I'm hitting the bottom to bring that through. And it doesn't appear like we're getting any warping in the metal, which is good. That can happen when you're applying a lot of heat. In fact, more often than not, that's what happens when you apply a lot of heat. But, all right, so it's a little slow going. Somebody who is better at this could do it much quicker, I'm sure. But, all right. Well, now, sharpen my tungsten. Now you can see it is no longer sharp. It is got big blob on the tip of it. So, all right. Now to set up the Dremel for taking that out. Suppose it's good to give the machine a break too. All right. So. Oh, that's good. They give you directions with it, asking if it'll fit your rotary tool. Well, I hope so. I already bought the damn thing. All right. This is pretty straightforward enough. Little saw blades. Hey, look at that, it fits. It's a good way to catch that on fire. All right. Ah, crap. All right. Well, takes a little more disassembly than I originally thought. So you have to take the whole assembly off. They make different parts for the Dremel that you can turn it into like a little router and stuff like that, and they use these bigger threads at the bottom. So this thing's just designed in a similar way. Okay. Seems straightforward enough. I think, though, probably be easier to put the blade on. The only thing is then I'd have to... Oh, no. Wouldn't fit in there. Never mind. You'd say just have to very narrowly thread it, but the threads at the bottom are smaller than the wheels are. These look like just ordinary Dremel cutting wheels, but yeah, I suppose they're shinier. It's supposed to be diamond, I guess. I suppose that's what you need to cut tungsten. Well, that's what you should use. Flap wheel with sandpaper was working for me, but it was absolutely not the correct tool for the job. Okay. Phillips head screwdriver. Pop the top of that off. Might just be easier. Directions tell me one way to do it, but they just, I don't know, magically have tiny fingers and can fit their fingers inside that housing. I cannot. But pull this out and attach it first. This I should be able to drop in. All right. Okay, there we go. Get that to where it just barely fits. You don't have to do a bunch of tightening. Put this on. Drop this whole thing in there, which is much easier. They wanted me to just drop that disc in there. Now, should be able to. There we go. Beautiful. All right. So there, it is assembled. Let me be responsible and put this stuff away. with that on, should be cool. I should be able to. Well, there's the first question I have. How's it supposed to fit? Well, it doesn't even hit the thing. Supposed to go underneath the wheel? I don't understand. It's not even hitting the wheel. Might be jankily busting out the grinder again. Sharpen this. I don't think anything changed. Okay, this is a brand new tungsten. It is, I believe, 1.6. Yeah, none of the one. Oh, what the hell? So the problem I'm running into is I have the disc here that they're supposed to grind against. All these holes that it goes in just go underneath that disc. So the disc can be spinning and just nothing's hitting it. Just everything's going underneath. So that's what I was kind of took it apart and checked, was to see if there was a set it a little bit lower. Yep, that's why. Well, not good. Looks like we're going back to the grinder. See how good I'm not being? Not cussing or anything like that. Alright, so the problem is, at least I know what the problem is now. So this black part here, there's a little piece on the inside that's a flanged piece of metal, and as you tighten it, it gets tighter, and that's what grips onto your bits. Well, this black thing here is too tall. Even though it is the standard design, apparently it is too tall for this. So, I think I have to get a completely different bit. Unless this old one, I don't think it's any shorter. It is not. We'll try it real quick. So yeah, see, this is the little flanged piece of metal. It just has little slices in it so the metal can crimp in. You just drop it into there, which the neck inside this thing is kind of funneled down a little bit. So as this gets forced further down, it forces it closed. And then this is the bit on top that forces that to happen. And no, I'm pretty sure that's the same exact height. Alright. Okay, well, that's a bust. Going to have to get a smaller piece to go in there. So it'll still work. I just have to order yet another piece off of Amazon. Joys of new stuff. You can't just make it work with the standard crap. They have to make their own. Put this all away later. Good thing it wasn't very expensive. Alright. I guess instead of safety first today, safety third is our motto. Wear a face shield. How about that? Thought about just not even putting it down. That's a joke. Alright. So now we will do this over here. Actually, I have a vise. Make this extra complicated. Beautiful. All right. What could go wrong? That could go wrong. All right. All right. So we got that ground down to a point. I'm not going to do the other piece because that took too long. I want to be doing this all day. All right. We will keep our giant, terrifying Mad Max contraption set up right over here. When we inevitably need it again when I screw this up again. Alright. Machine's had plenty of time to cool off. right that far out. So it works the same as like that. It's also got a collet nut in there. When you put it in there, the little things crimp down on it, and then the excess is just up in here. But that's how you tighten it down, so now that electrode won't fall out. Okay. That little thing on the tip, that little pink thing, that's that little shroud. It's made out of ceramic, so if it seems like I'm being super delicate with this, one, it's new and I don't know everything about it, and two, some of the parts really are delicate. So, and although this is kind of a pain in the ass, and I may have been able to do it quicker with the wire feed, this is a much better skill to learn and get good at. So, I will spend the extra time making sure I do it right. And subject all of you to my learning, because you can't stop me. All right. Back to it. All right, I was blending the bottom into this, having this finer point on there, and I brought it out just a little bit more, so hopefully now I can direct it. I was kind of having an issue because it's electric, so it's arcing out. It's like those balls where the plasma balls where it shoots the electricity all around it. It's kind of like that, but it's just coming out of one little tip instead of a ball. And so if, let's say another piece came out here. So this was our flat piece here, and I'm trying to weld along this. If I have it, well, yeah, okay, making sure it wasn't grounded. Now, right now I'm not grounded, so it's not going to spark. But if I'm trying to weld in this gap and I'm closer to this uphill side, the arc is going to pull and hit this uphill side because it's closer to the metal there. If I'm too close to the downhill side and I'm here, it's going to switch and go down to there. So I'm trying to heat up in the middle, because if it hits too high, I'm heating metal up here and metal down here that I've already melted, so the liquid isn't connecting. So I have to make sure that the heat, it stays close enough, the arc stays close enough that it's hitting and just melting the metal that I want and combining it. So part of what I'm doing down here is, remember I welded that big blob in the middle, but now I'm trying to heat this metal to that blob, so I have to melt that blob first so that blob kind of dissipates out, and then I have to start down here to try to blend them together. So it's a bit of a process. Like I said, somebody who is actually good at this or experienced, I'm sure wouldn't have this issue. This is not an equipment issue. This is 100% a me issue. But like I said, I'm learning. So don't take this as this is the machine messing up or anything like that. It's 100% me. So, all right. I think we are good to go. Now it is live, so if I tap it, it'll be very bright and blind me. Okay. Let's do it. Right now I'm just hitting that big long blob that we have, just kind of back and forth, kind of rocking it back and forth like you normally do when you're doing a bead in welding, hoping that kind of forces it a little bit flatter, so then I can make another pass and connect that little bit flatter part to my piece. And this is all so when I flip it over and weld on the much smaller point that comes together, it doesn't completely blow through the steel with the heat and cause just a big, quarter-size hole right in the connecting point of my piece, which is absolutely what I don't want to happen. So doing this, backing it with this much metal and welding it together should give me enough meat behind there that won't be an issue. Hopefully. Still does. That's absolutely when you'll hear me cuss. Oh, it's kind of a cool note. I can see the tip of my tungsten glowing red, well, white hot. I don't know, electric white hot. But I can actually see how sharp I made it. It's kind of cool. Fun for me. You guys can't see it. When you pop it off, when I pull it away like that to break the connection, you are supposed to keep the argon blowing on it like I've been doing, just until it's not molten anymore. Okay. Well, they did flatten it out a bit. I'm just gonna have to keep hitting it, keep flattening it out. Patience, I guess. All right. Flood the area with argon and get back to it. Couple areas it's actually close enough that it's starting to blend the puddles into the base metal. So that's good. It is doing what I intended for it to do. It is powerful ugly. But that's why we're doing it on the inside. Only Mandalore can judge me. Damn armor on the show had it made. She had a computerized casting machine. What she had to do was melt stuff down, throw in that thing, and just stamped out the armor. That's what I need. Pretty sure I'd actually need armor to stand next to something that hot, though. The machinery, not the armor. But alright. Bit by bit. This end actually looks pretty good. A little part here, but it's the middle that's giving me the most trouble. Alright. And our tungsten's still looking pretty good. Maybe a tiny bit of metal attached to it, but that seems to have only made it sharper. Alright. After this pass, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll check chat, get a drink of water, get some feeling back in my arm and hand. Sure, I'm death gripping this or something, so it's not near as comfortable as it should be. There we go. Alright. Got connected puddles. Means the metal is actually welded. Mostly. kind of cool because once you connect the puddles like that and like get them close together, it just instantly snaps into place. Because it's a liquid coming together. Okay, give my hand a break. We are making progress. So, stuff is getting done. I suppose while I do that, I can show what I've been doing, even though it's not a lot to look at. Oh, good, we didn't stick to the table. I was a little worried about that. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. On this other side, you can see, but a lot of that's just scale that'll come off. But there I have my big piece of blobby metal that I put in there. That's hot. So then you can see over here how it's kind of smooth blended in, and down here it's sharper angles. This hasn't been welded yet. This hasn't been melted into it. This has. I'm still going to come over that to clean it up a bit to make it a little smoother, a little bit nicer. But yeah, there's a couple little holes in that and there, but you can see here's the part that needs to be worked on. Here's the part that's decent right now. It's connected. And like I said, all of that is so when I come back through here and weld just on these edges that butt up, that those don't just completely blow through and blow a big hole in it. And also we have barely warped at all doing that. So our tacks did their job. Okay, get some water, stretch my hand a little bit, check chat. Ugh. Oh good, nothing in chat. Easy. This machine's so quiet too. You could be out here working at night with it and that, and nobody'd know. I mean, they could see the bright light of the arc in that, but because it doesn't make a lot of noise. It doesn't make a lot of heat. Whereas like a lot of that, the whole area gets hot. This puts off heat, but it doesn't seem to be as much. But because, like, with this door closed to be an enclosed space and I'm just pumping argon out everywhere, not sure how good that would be. At least out here, I mean, I'm sure I should have better ventilation. Maybe I'll get a fan up someplace, but I'm also far enough away and I'm not just straight huffing it. Also, don't make fun of me, but my tank is secured, but it's because I have two C-clamps attached to this 2x4, and then through those I've strung a ratchet strap around it and ratchet strapped it to those two that are attached there, so and my tank's solid. It's not going to fall over accidentally and blow the top off and be a giant rocket that blows through a wall or across the street into a neighbor's vehicle or something like that. So it's much like our grinder setup there, just a Mad Max nightmare cobbled together. But you know what? It worked, didn't it? It worked, right? It just pretty sure an OSHA guy would come in here and just puke. And I did move my my oxygen and acetylene over to the other side, the flammable gases. This is a non-flammable gas, argon is, I mean, obviously, from the way that I'm using it. Oxygen and acetylene are very much not. They are very, very flammable. So, alright. Little coffee, little water. How much time we got? Oh, about 30 minutes before I'll start cleaning up. Okay, back to this one single piece I've been working on today. Not a lot of progress, but I will say I haven't ruined anything, which was my initial concern. Because when I was first practicing with the machine this weekend, I can actually show you what, well, if I can find it. Okay, I guess I can't show you. Oh, it's over here. So these are the old pieces of shoulder that I ended up not using. The good ones are over there. You'd see when I tried welding, like just this gap here, this gap where I cut it, that's what I was trying to fill, because filling a gap like that's kind of a pain in the ass, and that's when I used that other stuff there to put the rod, well, here, I'll go this side. When I put the rod in there and then welded over the top of it, just kind of a proof of concept to start on this. You could see that's a blow through. That's just like half a second of going too far, and that heat hits an edge and just burns through. You can see it did it there too. Those are all here on this edge. These were flat and butted up. You see where it blew through there, blew through here and there. So that was my concern of what would happen, because it's the same thickness metal to this piece here when I got there, and this is my good piece, so I didn't want that to happen. So that's why I'm taking the extra precaution of just loading up a bunch of material on the backside, doing what I was doing here. You can see that's not bad. That looks pretty. Well, some of these are pretty bad. But learning, getting it down. All right. Get back to melting that together. Then maybe we'll have enough time for me to hit the front. Hopefully. And that I would be using probably that little tiny rod. Yeah, I probably still will use a rod. My dad's the one who, this is his machine and all that. I suppose he's my sponsor. A lot of this equipment is his that he pulled out of storage. But he was saying I might not even need rod on this, the front side, because there's a hair of an overlap there. So with this machine, you can just hit that overlap and then it'll just melt it all together. I probably still just put a little bit of rod on there just so then I can grind it to where it'll be just hit it real quick with a grinder, just to give it a real sharp edge there. I mean, not that I want it to be a blade or anything, but nice crisp edge is always nice. All right. So, start about halfway. See if we can blend this in. I think it's the argon that I'm smelling down here. Kind of smells good. What's that gonna make me dumber? Alright, that was some solid progress. That got pretty much that whole top done. It looks like there's 2 small spots that I could hit again. That's pretty much the whole top done. I think I need to add a hair more metal in one spot, which I know seems weird since I've had it so much, but... That's solid. I like it. Okay. Well, I don't know if I'll need to add more to this part, but maybe. I did not need to add more metal. Alright, that's looking actually halfway decent. Okay, now I just gotta hit the bottom part, which does not look at all decent. dipped my tungsten a little bit. You can see when it's going, it'll be a nice even flame, and then if anything gets picked up on there, then it turns into like kind of a bigger cone or kind of all over the place. It's not ideal. So we'll clean this up real quick. Finely tuned machinery here. Safety. All right. That one wasn't as bad as the last one. Okay. We're back in business. Alright, I'll try not to screw it up again. No promises. Oh, God. That would have been exciting. I could see really good until I couldn't. Ugh. Alright, try this again. Oh yeah, you can absolutely tell a difference when it's clean and when it's not. When it's clean, it's easy to strike it and start it. It's a very fine point of heat when you're making your puddles and that, a very fine arc. Rather than just a cone of destruction when it's got a big glob of metal on it. There we go. Oh yeah, that's progress. kind of weird using the arc instead of flame, because I remember using the oxyacetylene torch in that, and you had absolute control on where you applied the heat, because I mean that's just how fire works. With this, it's so, well, not so different, but it's a bit different, because if you get too close, like let's say you're at a joint and you really want to get in there, you can't, because if you try to get close, it's going to arc up or down or to another spot. So you have control where you're holding your electrode, but where it arcs to is going to be the closest. So it's just it's an interesting thing that you got to play with and like learn how it's moving around. And if you don't apply heat where you need it, then you're not welding, you're not doing anything. So now it's just helping me kind of learn and some interesting thoughts. I don't think I'll be qualified to weld on a nuclear reactor by tomorrow, but hey, progress is progress. And this is my 3rd day of welding like this with this machine. Well, welding TIG ever. As long as I'm not destroying tools or destroying projects, I count it as a win. If you were here when I was practicing, I was not even remotely this positive. Alright, that is melted together. I have both sides now. Both sides look good. Well, both sides look ugly as hell, but both sides are melted. Actually, this little tip here is not. Oh, hey, my tungsten still looks good. Look at that. I'm screwing up less and less. So now I'm cheating. I'm going back over the middle of this weld just to make it look a little less awful. But what that allows me to do too is make sure that it's heated up, all blended together, but that it actually fills that gap on the inside. So it's dual part. It's mainly vanity. Which is funny because it's still going to look horrible at the end of this. But slightly less horrible. not. I don't know if it's how I'm holding it or what. But my hand's just like, this hand is just numb. Ugh. Not like heart attack numb, like falling asleep numb. All right. Well, that looks way better. All right, here. I'm going to show you this. I'm actually happy with that, and I think we're probably getting close on time. All right. So there we go. Like I said, as far as welds go, horribly ugly. But you can see now we're actually blended on both these sides. There's a little gap right there and right there maybe. But yeah, you can just hit that again. Just keep knocking this weld down with the heat, which will make it flatter and flatter, and then smooth out into those sides. And here, let me. There, see, all that stuff just comes off really easy. Looks like there's a little bit of pitting there, but still, that's not bad. When I come back, grind that smooth. Once I have a little weld on there, grind that smooth. It should be pretty clean. Well, we didn't accomplish a lot today, but I learned a lot. I may have not been very good at relaying what I learned, so you guys may not have learned anything, but I'm pretty happy with today. Pretty happy with how that all went. Let me double check the time, see if I just absolutely misjudged that. No, 6:21. I got 9 minutes to clean up, so I'm going to start doing that. So, all right, that's a little weld there. So now, I'll come back. We're going to do all 4 of these welds. Well, 3 more. I'll clean that one up, so 3.5 more. Probably the same way, or close to the same way. Hopefully I can go quicker. Maybe I will use a smaller rod because I don't think I need quite as much material down there. But I don't know if I want to get that ballsy just yet. So, all right. Well, next time, that's what I'll do. I think to get caught up on this project, probably all week this week, I will just work on Mandalorian armor. Normally I do Mandalorian armor, that type of stuff on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. But because I kind of fell behind on this for having to take these last few days off to get stuff situated, I'll probably just this whole week work on this. Just make some meaningful progress on it. I'm going to let the machine run. You don't want to just, after you've been using it for a while, you don't want to just kill it, because that internal fan, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there's a little fan in there just blowing. You want to keep that going because that's cooling off the internal. So if you unplug it, sure, you're no longer applying heat by operating the machine, but the machine is also now not using its own tools to cool itself. So let your welders run for a little bit. Let them cool off. God, I'm just leaving that thing. I'm sure I'll need it again tomorrow. All right. Oh, also I have, this is just completely off topic, but I have some aluminum horseshoes too, instead of the steel ones. And I have some aluminum rod for the same machine. As far as I know, I can still just use argon for that too. But I have some just like these. I have some aluminum ones, so eventually I'll do some aluminum horseshoe art. Like my steel pumpkin here out of horseshoes. I can do that, but out of aluminum, so it's less heavy. I mean, this isn't crazy heavy to begin with, but I suppose if you're giving Granny a pumpkin to put out on her porch, you don't want it to be a 10-pound pumpkin. Not that this is, but you get what I'm saying. Nice lightweight pumpkin for the non-bodybuilding grandmas out there. tank. All right. I think with this machine too, I can come back. This was my Mandalorian Armor's hammer. I think I can actually come back and fill in some of these small little gaps that were kind of a pain to do with the wire feed, because I can use that really tiny rod and heat up just in there and just apply a very little bit to make a very small weld, whereas that thing turned down all the way on its smallest still doesn't do stuff like that very well. But maybe I'll come in and just fine tune this. It's all stuff that you can't really see on the video, but since I built it, I know it's there and it haunts me. So I could do that. This hammer turned out pretty good, actually. It only has a couple little ones. This is an actual usable hammer that I will be using for armoring. And at some point I'm going to start building my little bike chain tanks again. That's just bike chain links, and I don't need these gloves on. See how nice these TIG gloves are? You forget you're wearing them. Way nicer than a big heavy duty. So you can see that's just bike chain. A couple little pieces of steel on there. That's a big giant bolt. That's a little extra piece of the bike chain, the rod that goes in between them. I just welded onto there. So, yeah, little artistic Sherman tank. I did the same with a little Tiger tank. This one I'm not as happy with because some of the dimensions are a bit off, but still, neat little thing there. So, go back. That's more of the artsy side of stuff, like the pumpkin, the wine rack. That's what I need that torch for. So the wine rack, but that little more artsy stuff is the stuff I plan on selling someday. Well, some point, hopefully in the nearish future, at like farmers markets and that. I'll have like the Mandalorian stuff there too, because why wouldn't I? I'll show it off. But it's more geared towards the more artistic stuff. Alright. Didn't do a lot of grinding today. Really none that caused too much of a mess, so cleanup's a lot easier. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. I'll check chat here in a second. Stay there. Alright, I think that's about it. See if anybody has any questions. Nope. Alright. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do about this. Guess I'll look and see about getting that other piece. I don't need anything like heavy duty. It's just literally that little tip that goes on there that I need a new one for. So that shouldn't be too difficult to get a hold of. However, it does add time onto working with this. But luckily we have our big giant mat. It reminds me of something that you would use as like a base weapon in 7 Days to Die. That's what that reminds me of. Have that mounted and just chopping zombies apart. Maybe weld some big knife blades around it. Cut them off at the ankles. that with me. All right. So, multi-part progress. A little bit of progress on here and progress learning that machine. All right. Happy for today, but that's about it. So I'll go ending soon. I'll stay in chat just as I tear the rest of this off and close up the garage and that. If anybody has any questions, I can respond in there. And if not, then I will see you guys tomorrow. Same time, 4:30, 6:30. And thank you guys for watching. I have all the social medias and that. They're all under the same name. And that's where I put out a lot of updates, like on Facebook and Twitter or X. That's the one where I post on that all the time. Just let you know when I'm streaming and that type of stuff. I have some shorts out there. I gotta mix more. I've been lazy with that. YouTube, I just load up all this raw footage. If you wanted to go back and see a project there. Eventually, I do plan on actually editing videos down and getting some more cohesive things done, but probably do that when I'm actually done with some of these bigger projects. Maybe a compilation of some of these smaller artsy projects put together. So, all right, thank you guys very much. I will see you tomorrow, and maybe we can build something.